What on earth did we just witness? Jakob Ingebrigtsen just obliterated the world record in the 3,000 meters. This was one of the greatest races I've ever seen, perhaps the race of the year and one of the greatest track performances of all time. So there was a lot of discussion going into Silesia Diamond League that Jakob Ingebrigtsen would be targeting the world record over the 3K, and this was one of the most legendary world records in track and field, often considered untouchable as the legendary Daniel Komen set the near mythical mark in reality many, many years ago. However, the greatest distance running talent of our generation, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, looked ready for the task, especially after smashing the 2-mile world record last year in Paris with an astonishing 7:54 clocking in a time that nearly converted to the world record in the 3K. If there's any distance that Jakob excels the most in, it could very well be the 3,000 meters. And even though it was a warm day in that part of Poland, Jakob did not back away from his world record attempt. And you could pretty much see all this play out from the get-go. Immediately, the field, which included a lot of quality runners like Aragawi, Fisher, and Kajelcha, got sprung out not even 400 in, showing you just how quick the pace was right off the bat. Jakob stuck right behind the two pacemakers as the more mid-distance runner Skis took the initiative, leading the field through the first half of this race, and he did a pretty good job of it. I found it interesting that I think the wave lights were set in a progressive sort of fashion, meaning Ingebrigtsen would be first on European record pace for the 3,000 meters, then the lights would shift to world record pace over the 3,000 meters. At nearly the mile split, he was slightly slower than what Komen did, but it should be noted Komen went out extremely hard with a 156 first 800 in his 3K world record, whereas for Jakob, he measured things out more carefully from the gun. I guess the discussion on whether having the wave lights is fair probably deserves another video in itself, but I do think having the lights set and not only a steady pace, but a progressive pace like this one here that really benefits the running style of Ingebrigtsen is an advantage, and every advantage counts when attacking a world record. As the laps went on, Siati, who's a solid 1500 guy himself, dropped out, leaving Ingebrigtsen to attack the last third of this race alone. But this was not easy, especially when you consider the temperature and the pace beforehand. However, Ingebrigtsen did something unbelievable. He simply got stronger and stronger. After turning down the pace from a 59 to a ridiculous 57 penultimate lap, Jakob hit the bell, and it looked like he was kicking for home in a championship race or something like that. He even turned around and looked to see where his nearest competitor was. And you also got to give Aragawi a lot of props for hanging on to one of the toughest paces I've ever seen, a pace that dropped very big names early on, but Ingebrigtsen simply pulled away and kept putting distance on Aragawi all the way to the end of the race as he smashed the world record with an absolutely absurd 55.4 last lap and 27 last 200 meters. One of the greatest closes we have ever seen in our life. This result was a 13:20 on the IAAF points table, which, by the way, reminds me of the press conference pre-race where Ingebrigtsen talks about how it was unfair to try to achieve such a result, since it was a couple of seconds under the world record. But he even demolished that mark and honestly surprised himself with this performance. I don't think we've ever seen a runner that excels so well in these time trial-paced events before, and Ingebrigtsen is, even with some blunders over Championship 1500 racing, the best runner over these distance events in our generation. To put this in perspective, the scoring table equates a 7:17 3,000 to a 3:24 1500 or a 12:30 5,000. And Jakob did this in less than ideal conditions, and he did this after racing a 1500 just a few days earlier in Lausanne, winning comfortably, but in also a relatively quick time. The thing is, we know Jakob is in the best shape of his life, and he did this while being injured for a large part of the indoor season. I think this 3K does indicate he has the fitness to get the 1500 world record. However, I think that'll be a tougher task. given how Ingebrigtsen is more of a strength-based runner, and the shorter the distance is, the more raw speed is required to get that world record. But his 3:26 clocking in Monaco earlier this year definitely leaves the door open for a 3:25 at Zurich if he does want to go for it. The 5,000 world record is something that he could also go for as well. And honestly, after this 3K performance, as well as his 2 mile from last year, it's something I'd wager he could get, given how strong he seems right now. But overall, you gotta love a runner like Ingebrigtsen. The level of consistency he displays is what dominance really looks like. He's a generational distance runner that wants to become the best of all time. He shows up and is an inspiration for so many with top-notch performance after top-notch performance. But this world record here was something that I think even he was surprised about and left us all shocked watching what happened. If you enjoy athletics coverage like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and check out other content on this channel as we do interesting breakdowns on all things athletics. See you in the next one.